All right, Larry Krueger from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a dozen prospects to look for at the Combine in Indianapolis. And we, of course, thank Pig and a Pickle for being proud sponsors of the Krug Show. All right, number 12 on the list, Brevin Allen, a defensive end who played this year for Campbell. And you say, well, Brevin Allen, never heard of Brevin Allen. Not a lot of people have heard of Campbell, that's for sure. But Campbell is in the Big South Conference. And this is a defensive end, 6'3", 265 pounds, led the Big South in sacks, led the Big South in tackles for loss in 2021. He's a Greensboro, North Carolina native. And he was the 2021 Big South Defensive Player of the Year, and then followed it up this year with another great year. Coming into the year, he had 30 and a half career tackles for loss and 16 sacks. He also has unbelievable speed. 4.59 is what they clocked him in the 40. I think he may beat that this week in Indy. So look for that. Look for that guy. He bench presses 415 pounds. He played what they call the beast end position for Campbell. Campbell's head coach is Mike Minter, the former Nebraska star who spent a decade in the NFL. And Minter has talked about how Allen has got an unbelievable blend of athletic ability and the desire to be great. So remember that name, Brevin Allen. That's number 12 on our countdown of the top dozen guys to watch at the Combine. All right, number 11. I'm going to go on the offensive side of the ball for a name that's going to be somewhat familiar to you guys, and that's Luke Musgrave, the Oregon State tight end. This is the nephew of former Oregon quarterback Bill Musgrave, former 49er Bill Musgrave, who's been the offensive coordinator at Cal. In 2021, Musgrave caught 22 passes for 304 yards and a touchdown. He's 6'6", he's 250 pounds, and he's just a great all-around athlete. This kid was an elite high school long jumper and triple jumper. He also excelled on the lacrosse field. He was a great alpine skier. I mean, just a great all-around athlete. He's got a vertical jump, at least on campus, of 36 and a half. I expect he's going to improve on that number. He also broad jumped 10-1 and 3/4. He's going to clock in the 4.5s, and he did a 4.21 in the pro agility. These are all great numbers for a 6'6" tight end. So he's a 6'6" tight end who can stretch the seam and make some big plays, and he runs exceptionally well. So remember Luke Musgrave, the tight end at Oregon State. I think he's probably, heck, he could be a day one pick if he tests out well enough. But I think ultimately he's probably a day two tight end. And I think probably a pretty good one coming out of Oregon State. All right. Number 10 on the list is a defensive end from Northwestern, and his name is pronounced Adetomiwa Aadebawore. Adetomiwa Aadebawore. NFL scouts are practicing this one because this guy can flat out play. He led Northwestern last year with 4.5 sacks and 8.5 tackles for loss. That was in 2021. He's 6'2", about 280, 285. Exceptionally strong. Now he did 30 reps on the bench at 225 on campus. He might be able to up that in Indy. He's maxed out at 410 on the bench, 685 in the squat, and he power cleans 375. So this is a really, really strong football player in the weight room. But then when you flip on the tape and you watch him in the drills, that strength translates to the field. It really does. His bull rush is just absolutely unstoppable. Adetomiwa Aadebawore. Just keep saying that one. His times, I should say, his running times are also really elite. He's got a 4.05 pro shuttle. He's got a 6.9 three cone. He's got a 10.5 broad jump and a 37.5-inch vertical. This is all at about 285 pounds. So once again, Adetomiwa Aadebawore, and you'll know that name if 3 years from now, because this guy's going to wreak havoc in the NFL. I love this player, Adetomiwa Aadebawore. Adetomiwa. I forgot the E there. But watch for this kid from Northwestern. Monster. All right, that's number 10. Number 9 on the list, Keion White. Much easier to say, a defensive end from Georgia Tech. He's actually grown from defensive end to maybe a defensive tackle. This guy was an awesome player at Old Dominion a few years ago. Lived in the backfield. He played at about 265 for Old Dominion. Then he transferred to Georgia Tech, and he suffered an ankle injury, and that sidelined him. He's now up to 6'4" and 290 pounds, and he has been a problem in the ACC if you're trying to block this guy. He's hit 21 miles per hour despite being almost 300 pounds. He has a vertical jump of 32 inches. He's done 38 reps of 225 on the bench on campus. And this guy moves exceptionally well at 290. So Keion White from Georgia Tech, really, really special athlete. And I'm not sure exactly what his position is. I don't know if he's a 5 technique in a 3-4 or if he's an interior rusher in a 4-3, but I do know he is a hell of a football player. Another guy to look at, number 8 on our list, I'm going to go with Riley Moss, the defensive back from Iowa. If you watched Iowa this year, Iowa is a really, really good defense, and Moss is a tremendous football player. He was first team All Big Ten the last couple of years. Really, really productive player, makes a ton of tackles, interceptions. He's one of the big reasons why Iowa's defense is one of the best in the country. He's 6'1", about 195 pounds. He was an excellent high hurdler in high school, and he possesses really high-level athleticism across the board. I expect him to dominate in Indy. This guy dominated in Iowa City for 4 years. He was a tremendous football player. He's also vertically jumped 42 inches. He's broad jumped 10.8. We're told that he's clocked the fastest short shuttle time for a defensive back in Kirk Ferentz's 20-plus years at Iowa. So they said he had a 3.85 shuttle time, short shuttle. That if he ran 3.85, and that's what I'm looking for in this week, how does he run the short shuttle drills? That would have been a full 1/10 of a second faster than anyone ran that last year at the combine. Sam Houston State's Zion McCollum ran 3.94. So you factor in that Riley Moss is a great football player, and then that he's going to test out at a really high level. No one in Indianapolis has even cracked 3.90 in that short shuttle since Kevin King at a UW did it. He had 3.89 in 2017. So Riley Moss is a great football player. At Iowa, he played corner. I don't know that he's going to stay at corner in the NFL, but I think he's plenty good to transition to a nickel spot or a free safety spot. Really, really productive defensive back. And if he works out at a high level, man, Riley Moss could go day 2 in the NFL draft. All right, that's number 8. Number 7 on the list, Andre Carter II, the defensive end outside linebacker for Army. This guy went to high school in Connecticut. He went to Connecticut's Cheshire Academy and was a two-star tight end prospect coming out. Now he's 6'7", 260 pounds. He's got a 6'10" wingspan. In 2021, he had 18 tackles for loss, 15 and a half sacks, and 4 forced fumbles, and kind of busted onto the scene. He followed that up this year with an equally impressive year. He blazed 4.2 in his pro agility tests last off season. The Army coaches say that his change of direction work is as good as any of the skill position guys they have on the team. And this is a defensive end. He also has incredible reaction time. He processes speed. His processing speed is really, really great. Andre Carter II, if he, 6'7", 260, if he works out like a madman, he could be a late first round pick. He's an impressive football player. All right. While he's number 7 on the list, number 6 is one of my favorites, and that's Calijah Kancey, the University of Pittsburgh defensive tackle / defensive end. People are comparing Kancey to Aaron Donald, and you can see why. He's an undersized, disruptive interior player. He's 6 feet, about 285, and he is incredibly disruptive. He's a Miami kid. He was a great find by the Pitt Panthers D-line coach, Charlie Partridge, who's got a lot of ties to South Florida. And then in 2021, Kancey busted out. He was a first-team All-ACC honors. He made the All-ACC his junior year. He produced 13 tackles for loss, 7 sacks. He's this guy's an unbelievably productive football player. He's not the height or size that you want. He's 6 feet, 285, but he's been clocked around sub 4.7, like 4.65. He may run if he runs anything in the 4.5s, that's going to be incredible. But I would say low 4.6s is what Calijah Kancey may run in, and he's 285 pounds. He's vertical jumped 31.5 inches. He bench presses 425. I mean, Calijah Kancey is exactly what you want. He's what you want in the weight room. He's what you want as an athlete, and he's really what you want as a football player. He checks in at number 6. All right, number 5, I'd have to go with an SEC linebacker because there's always so many who work out like madmen. Owen Pappoe, Pappoe from Auburn, tremendous player. This guy makes 150 tackles a year. A couple of years ago, it was 165. He sacks the quarterback. He had a leg injury a couple of years ago. They call this guy the Freak. That's how athletic he is. He's 6'1", 225 pounds. He benches about 450 pounds, and he's been clocked in the 40 at 4.32. So we think Dre Greenlaw is fast. He runs 4.5. We think Fred Warner's fast. He runs 4.5. Owen Pappoe from Auburn is 6'1", 225. So he's basically the same size as Greenlaw. He runs 4.32. And when you watch him on film, you can see the speed. The speed is impact speed. He flies all over the place and makes tackles. So remember that name. Number 4 on the list is Will McDonald IV, a defensive end from Iowa State. Another player who's got unbelievable moves. I mean, he really moves incredibly well. This guy was a former high school basketball star. He was a former track star at the high school level. In 2021, he was a first-team All-American, tied for the Big 12 lead in sacks for the second straight season with 11.5, then followed it up in 2022 with another banner season. This is an incredible football player. He's an elite athlete. He can do backflips standing still. The videos, there are videos that the people in Ames have put out on this kid where shows he's jumping over automobiles. He's 6'3", 236 pounds. So he might be a little light for like what the Niners like in their edge rushers. But man, what an athlete. 6'3", 235, 240. I expect that McDonald will go to Indy and vertically jump maybe 44 inches. And he should broad jump maybe 11 feet. I mean, we're talking about huge workout numbers, and he's a really good football player who's nearly impossible to block. I've seen him. He's got spin moves, and he uses speed to power, and he can transition it. He's really, really scary. Will McDonald from Iowa State. All right, number 3 on the list, DJ Johnson, the Oregon edge rusher. He's a transfer. He started at the University of Miami. He bounced around, played 150 snaps on defense a couple years ago at outside backer. He played 98 snaps as a tight end on offense and 18 snaps on special teams. I don't know that the Oregon coaches know exactly what to do with him. All they know is they got to get him on the field because he's that great of an athlete. He had a dominant showing in the spring game coming into this last year. He made 5 tackles for loss, 4 sacks. We're talking about a player who's 6'4", 275 pounds, and really fast. In the Oregon training program, he posted a blazing 22.88 miles per hour on the GPS. This goes with a 455-pound bench press, and he can lift 655 in what they call the sumo deadlift. So DJ Johnson, very strong, very fast, very explosive. Watch for him to be taken probably on day 2 of the draft. Number 2 on the list, Myles Murphy from Clemson, the defensive end. As you'll see, there's a lot of defensive ends on this list. You have to be an elite athlete to be a defensive end, and some of the greatest athletes in all of college football were exactly that, defensive ends. And Murphy made 43 tackles, 14 tackles for loss. He had 7 sacks to lead Clemson in 2021 and busted out, and then followed it up this year with another strong year. 6'5", 275. A lot of people who know Clemson and that program say he's a significantly better player than Clelin Ferrell, who the Raiders took 4th overall in the 2019 draft. So this guy is just a freaky athlete. He bench presses 405. He power cleans 335. He deadlifts 505. He also had a vertical jump of 35 inches. They're saying he's improved that, and he may vertically jump 38 in Indy. He jumped 10 feet on the broad jump. He's consistently clocked in the high 4.5s in the 40, according to the Clemson coaches. So all I got to say, if Myles Murphy goes to Indy and measures out at anything close to 6'5", 275 and is running in the 4.5s, that's probably a top 10 pick right there. He's going to be somebody to really watch. And the last guy, number 1 on the list, maybe the biggest, he was number 1 on the Bruce Feldman freaks list for all of college football for 2022. And that's the Michigan defensive tackle, Mazi Smith. Mazi's 6'3", 325 pounds. And this guy is one of the greatest combinations of power and agility I think I've ever seen. Doesn't sack the quarterback, has had times where the production doesn't match the athleticism, but man, he is an absolute freaky athlete. He can do 22 reps on the bench press of 325. In Indy, they lift 225. So this guy did 22 reps of 325. So I'm expecting he may pound out 50 reps on the bench. That he may set the combine record on the bench in Indy this year. I mean, that's going to be something to watch. And it's if that's all it was, it'd be one thing, but this guy vertically jumps 44 inches. He broad jumps 9.4.5. He's been clocked at a 4.41 shuttle time, which would have tied the best for any defensive tackle in last year's combine, and would be better than any defensive tackle weighing 310 pounds or more in the past decade. This is a freak of freaks. His 3-cone is 6.95. If he improves on that, that will be the fastest among defensive tackles in Indianapolis. The fastest this year was last year, I should say, was 7.33. He's done the 3-cone drill on campus in 6.95. So he may set the 3-cone drill for a record for linemen. His 60-yard shuttle is 11.90. The rotational strength, they have a way of testing that at Michigan. And Michigan strength coach Ben Herbert says that Mazi is the strongest defensive lineman he's seen in 25 years in the business. He's just got unbelievable traits, and he's got rare traits, and they're all in one player. He's ridiculously strong. He's ridiculously powerful and ridiculously explosive in a short area. So Mazi Smith, the number 1 guy to watch in Indy. So there you go. Those are your top dozen guys. It's Mazi Smith from Michigan, the D tackle. It's Myles Murphy, the defensive end from Clemson. It's DJ Johnson, the defensive tackle from Oregon. It's Will McDonald, the edge rusher from Iowa State. It's Owen Pappoe, the linebacker from Auburn. It's Calijah Kancey, the D tackle from Pitt, who might be a defensive end. It's Andre Carter, the second, who is an outstanding defensive end prospect at Army. Riley Moss, who's a defensive back, corner or safety from Iowa. Keion White, defensive end / defensive tackle from Georgia Tech. And then, of course, Adetomiwa Aadebawore, the defensive, I'll just call him lineman from Northwestern. Luke Musgrave, the tight end from Oregon State. And rounding out the 12 guys you got to keep your eye on in Indy, Brevin Allen, a very athletic defensive end from Campbell. All right. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for sponsoring the Krug Show. Check them out in Corte Madera and in Emeryville. And until next time, I'm Larry Krueger for the Krug Show.